Good evening, everyone. Call the meeting to order. Welcome. This is the Wareham Finance Committee, March 22nd, 2018. We're going to be principally doing hearings for two, which will be the cemetery and the school department. And when we're through, we're going to continue our meeting with as many votes as possible to make it a little easier for our secretary to put our warrant together. So may I ask the clerk to call the roll?
Present tonight, Chairman Pigeon, Clerk Bailey, Stuart Novick, Dominic Camerano, Glenn Lawrence, and Jerry Stefanski.
Thank you. Are there any citizens that wish to speak? It seems to be none present, so we'll move on. And I'll ask motion to open the hearings, please.
So do it.
May I have a second?
Second.
So motion is made and seconded. May all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearings are open. Call the first, the warrant article in the special town meeting, the cemetery rules and regulations. Please introduce yourselves.
Yes, thank you. My name is Kathleen Bird, and I am chairman of the Cemetery Commissioners.
Jack Silver, clerk of the Cemetery Commissioners.
Thank you, Jack.
And we are here again, like a bad penny. If you remember at the last fall meeting, there was some objection to some of the language that was in the revised draft of the rules and regulations. And it was pertaining to the town administrator. They thought that he had more control, or she had more control, whoever the town administrator would be at that particular time. And so what we did is we went back to the drawing board and we removed the verbiage. It did not displace the document whatsoever. We still need it passed. These rules and regulations, the ones that are presently that we have to go by, are over 40 years old. There was a set of rules and regulations that was printed in 2009, but they were never presented to the town, so therefore we had to revert back to the old ones. Some of the things that the old regulations do not address is the descent of the family lot to heirs.
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
The descent of family lots or family graves to heirs. All right, that's the lineage. You have to descend it to your heirs.
Okay.
Another Massachusetts general law is that people cannot sell their lots or graves in a municipal cemetery because the town owns the land. All right, and unfortunately, these things have been done. Presently, with the present commissioners, we have stopped this practice, but we still need these to be passed. We need some teeth, we need structure, we need a system. This committee has worked very, very hard, has spent an enormous amount of time on correcting past errors and misinformation. And by passing this document, the rules and regulations would be in compliance with the Massachusetts general laws. These rules and regulations would bring an organized system, clarity, and protection to the town, to the municipal maintenance department, and to future cemetery commissioners. And we would appreciate a favorable vote from the entire finance committee. I have them here if you have not.
Well, I would love a second. I didn't get a chance to go, but thank you. I will
Can I
read
just
it.
ask, when you change the verbiage about the town administrator, is it still clear that somebody gets to make final decisions?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. This committee is an advisory to the Board of Selectmen. Our bylaws, basically this did nothing to the document by moving the word administrator. Because by the Wareham bylaws, the administrator is still in charge of it.
So it gives, I'm sorry, through you, Bernie. So it gives the Board of Selectmen the right, the power rather than the administrators, that your basic change?
Well, we have to go by the Wareham bylaws.
Okay, but you're saying that you took the administrator out for power. So,
Well,
so who makes
that's-
that final decision then? The Board
Well,
of Selectmen?
we're an advisory board.
Right, I know, I
to
understand
the-
advisory,
to the
but who
selectmen.
puts the
Yes,
hammer
the
down? The selectmen?
Yes.
And before it was the administrator. You feel that that was better?
Well,
You feel-
unfortunately, I'm
Go
sorry,
ahead, no,
but
no.
unfortunately, with our public hearings we had and all,
Yeah,
and the public input, the public was adamant that they didn't want the town administrator to be the only deciding factor in
so
those.
many people rather than one you thought was better, that's the reason? More
Uh,
minds to one, I
well-
mean, I think the selectmen have too much on their plate, but that's just
Well,
me,
that's
that's
the
just me.
cemetery commissioners.
Right, that's what I mean, yeah.
Dominic,
that's-
I think what they're saying, I could
Yeah.
be wrong,
Go
is
ahead.
that they took the words out because they were objection.
There was an objection
But
to
the way
the,
the Board of Selectmen works is they work through the town administrator.
Right.
And the bylaw provides that the administrator is the one who has authority over town property, this is town property.
right,
So they took the words out, but I don't think it changed the intent of.
It does not
Okay.
change the integrity of the document.
Okay.
Yeah.
thank you for
Thank
clearing
you.
that up, that makes sense. That makes sense. I have one other question, Barry, through you?
Yes.
You said that people can't sell their lots, can they sell them back to the town? What if you purchased it, that's the only way,
That's
that's
the
the only
only
thing
way.
that can be done?
And-
So they don't lose their money if they
Oh,
don't use it?
we have to vote on that.
Okay.
The commissioners have to vote on it.
Say-
We have to vote for a policy that they are able to sell back to the
For
town.
the same money or
And
something, not a
as
problem or
they-
something like
As
that,
they
yeah.
purchase the
There's
lot.
a lot of
or
people
the
now,
gravesite.
yeah, want to be cremated, there's a lot of reasons that people might not want it.
It's a cultural change, because they keep on thinking that they have a deed, and they don't have a deed. They have a license to burial.
Right.
It's a right to burial,
So that's what they pay for.
yes.
And so they can't sell that on the open public, like, I've seen lots advertised from other places in a newspaper. That's, practice is no good.
But
That's
that
good.
practice has happened in
Oh, okay,
previous years, so
okay,
this is what we're trying to clean up.
thank you
You're
for
welcome.
The
straightening that out.
basic issue is that the fact that it's municipal property
Correct,
causes all these governances
correct,
to take effect,
correct.
versus if it was, like St. Patrick's owns a cemetery. They're not governed by the same rules as you have just devised,
Correct,
because they are private,
part of the
private entity, so
Catholic
to speak. Yeah.
archdiocese, or the diocese
Yes.
is under. Correct.
But
Thank
they're
you.
not that governed in it.
So the best you can determine, there is no financial impact on these, on the change in rules?
Oh, no.
Any rules and regulations,
Oh,
no.
no,
Yeah.
no.
You're in front of the finance committee, so I thought
I
I'd
know.
ask.
Well,
you.
No,
so
no,
our
no,
vote-
no.
Our vote still carries weight,
appreciate that
yeah, our
question,
vote
no.
still carries weight.
It does carry weight.
There's no
You know,
financial,
and-
I didn't think of any,
We would
no.
like a favorable
Not
vote
gonna
of
affect us one way or the other.
Just had to check.
No.
The only thing the town loses on is perpetual care.
Well, do you determine or collect the perpetual care, or is that done directly to the town?
How can we get that number
When
right?
someone is
How's that?
inherited and they
$200,
purchase-
come on.
Yeah, they purchase a
Life
perpetual
insurance.
care.
Can we just pass these rules?
All
and
right.
regulations?
Oh, we're not,
No, I'm
we're
just
past, we're already past that.
Baby
Because
steps.
$200 for life, you know, I mean, I don't know, it's a great deal, I mean, you know, I'm in, but,
But
it's
one
a
of,
it's a losing proposition,
I
you know that,
understand.
okay.
Can we just
Minute?
pass
Yes,
this?
I can, no problem.
but one of the
I'll
other
vote for
problems,
it, I have no problem.
Well, as long as we have you here.
yeah,
That's right.
one of the other
Yes, oh,
problems
yeah.
that we had, that we didn't get this passed at the last town meeting was because there was a few people that had put into a complaint about the water. No more water.
Well, that's the
They
water
complained,
district.
complained about the seeds.
You know, the rain
you
barrels
know,
and all
you
of
know,
that.
and all. So that really has nothing to do with our regulations, you know, that's entirely,
Yeah, I
we've
hear
been
you.
trying to work, and the miscellaneous director's been trying to work with the water district to get, you know, some type of a break, but we just haven't gotten anywhere with them.
I mean, we're all friends, they could be reasonably benevolent.
Water
and
district's got
give
more
us some
money than the
water.
town, come on, man, you can't. Have them pay for the schools, you ever think of that, cutting them, making them, I thought of that. If the water districts pay some,
I
they have
kinda
more money
misdirected
in their
there.
bank than the town does. And the water districts give money to the students' education, I thought of that.
Back to the issue of the
Yes.
rules. Okay, are there any further questions?
Nope.
No, nothing? Then that's fine, we'll take our votes later,
Oh,
after
okay,
the hearing is
Good job.
closed.
okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you, we appreciate your time.
appreciate your time. And your vote.
Thank you.
That didn't hurt as bad as you said it was going.
Painless, right? Painless.
Everything goes easy with a glass of
Yeah.
wine.
No, this was before, not after. Next.
Depends on which seat you're in.
Brenda, can I make a motion?
Thank you very much, guys. Not during
Thank you.
hearings, please, Dominic. We'll do it after the hearings are closed.
No, the next one you have is open, I think that's for next Wednesday. I was gonna
Yes, it is. That's,
move that to next Wednesday. I make a
yes.
motion to move our number 2 to next week, please.
very good. There was a misunderstanding in the creation of that.
That's okay.
Motion's made to move the Upper Cape to next Wednesday for hearing.
Dr.
may I
Doug
have a
said he'll be here.
Yeah, may I have a second, please?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, okay. I have a schedule out for all the articles that will be appearing Wednesday. We're gonna be here for a while. So please, I would appreciate if you make plans so we can have a quorum and get our votes done and get it closed out. They finally closed the warrant Tuesday night,
Excuse me.
and they had 8 more articles on that we never heard about prior to that, so we couldn't prepare for that.
Okay.
But that's gonna be a busy night for us. Next item is the school department. I'm disappointed to see everybody here, my gosh. This is money we're talking.
Well, yeah, but I thought you'd be happy to see just us, because you didn't concentrate on us.
More than more than that.
Well, I'd rather talk to the guilty party.
Oh, okay.
Using that phraseology, if you don't mind, with all due respect.
Well, thank you for having us.
It's unfortunate we've done it at this late in time, because there's so much that has transpired that we didn't get an opportunity to do it in stages.
So,
Hey, Matt?
We're all set. Thank you very much. Works like a dream. Perfect. Works like a dream. And,
I'll pass it on, yeah.
Do a portion of it. David?
Not used to daylight savings being gone.
You have that problem too?
Yes.
I haven't adjusted it myself.
It's light out, so you think it's.
yeah, right, I know.
Yes.
Okay, a little preliminary question, just to complete. Are we discussing the budget that was accepted by the school committee in January? Or are you making changes to it? And if you do so, the only one we're familiar with is the first presentation that you did. So if you're building or changing that, I'd like to appreciate it if you would make us aware of what you're changing from the original. So give us some connection.
Sure. Yes, we are changing it, and what Michael has done is prepared some slides, so if you don't mind, we can just walk you through the steps that we've taken, what we've looked at, and why we're at the number that we're at.
All right, because your original recover or shortfall was 940,000.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you want to turn these lights off to give you a better option, Michael. That switch only does half the room.
That might be enough.
Jonathan, will that be a problem for you?
No, it'll be fine for me. Is that clear enough for you?
I can see it, everyone can see it.
There's not a ton.
Stuart, Jerry, do you want to move over?
So everything, so there's your handout has more notes than is on the slides. So I've tried to keep the slides as simple as possible, provide a little bit more information. So our budget priorities, and they are listed there. So as we developed the budget, and also as we started to identify our options for reductions, and we'll get into that, we kept the priorities of to provide a rigorous and quality education for all students by maintaining manageable class sizes, maintaining and improving discipline at all schools, meeting the special education needs of students, maintaining the current programming, and ensuring a sufficient supervision and evaluations of teachers. So just I just wanted you to have that background because that influenced some of the decisions we're going to go into. So the budget, so we have come some way, as you alluded to, Chair, in development of this budget. So this first number here, the 30,900,000, that was our level service budget that we started with. We then presented to the school committee a budget of 29,413,000, and I think that's what you were talking about, Mr. Pigeon, about that's the one the school committee voted, and it was presented to the town administrator.
Yes.
So we have continued working on it since then. On the feedback we received from the town administrator, and the budget we're at is 28,778,000. And that's the one we presented at the most recent public hearing. So, and that's the one also school committee are scheduled to take a vote on a budget next week. 22nd, an updated budget.
So that's 936,000 less. So
Less,
that-
yes.
So that, is that the number that the
That was
administrator
the
can live
discrepancy
with?
between it, yes.
So he can, so this number he can live with, it was 940, it's
No, I said
936.
940 rounding up.
Okay, so this is a number he can live with.
Well,
We're
this is
still,
what we initially were reviewing.
yeah, we're about $400,000 apart from where
Okay.
the town administrators,
You're 400 high. Okay.
or he's 400 low.
Give yourself more credit for
Okay,
actually.
I can live with that, I can live with
You're
that.
only about 300,000, I wouldn't say.
Yeah,
400,000.
exactly, 390, yeah, right, yeah.
Closer, way closer to 3
Yeah.
than you are to 4.
Yeah,
Okay.
all right, so so I just wanted to, you've seen this, and well, hopefully it's a little clearer, but this is the same slide we presented at the last public hearing, just to explain how the budget was developed. In a very quick summary, a lot more into this, but basically we have, the current budget for this year is just over 28,200,000. There's salary increases of 1.36 million, and that is driven by a number of areas. Our teacher contract includes 3% cost of living increase this year, and that's on top of columns and step increases. So we agreed a contract with teachers a couple of years ago, reflecting the need to increase salaries to get somewhere closer to surrounding districts. We also have out-of-district tuition is also increasing, as we see the number of students requiring education outside the district continues to go up. Transportation, cost of transportation both in district and those students who require education out of district have to be transported there, and that is costly. There is a shortage of drivers everywhere it seems, and we struggle to recruit, and that increases our ability to recruit, and also the cost of paying contracted services to provide transportation. There's also, we have less circuit breaker available, which is a fund which we use to pay for our district tuition. And in the last couple, we are looking to increase the amount we pay substitutes, because that's another area where we have lagged behind surrounding districts, and we're unable to recruit enough substitutes to cover teacher absences, which is has an educational but also a safety impact that needs to be addressed. And finally, some other smaller, a whole other supplies and services works at 78,000. So that's what gets you to that original level service budget figure. So I'm gonna just take you through how we now, so they got to that original number, and then we started the work of reducing that to get somewhere closer to where the town administrator is requiring us to get to. So I am slightly complicating this because really when it came down, so when we came up with the budget that the school committee voted on, we had made some reductions, but really we had to go back to the drawing board because the increase, the amount of reduction still needed was so much that we had to kind of start again. So we weren't just talking about cutting a couple more positions, we're talking about saving hundreds of thousands more dollars. So we essentially said, okay, all the plans we made to get to the one the school committee voted on, let's start again, because the moves we were going to make were sort of bigger than just one step. Does that make sense? So these are to get the reductions I'm going to go through now take us from that level service budget through the one the school committee voted on to the one that's going to be presented next week. So the first step was, the first round was we went to our principals and directors and said, what are the reductions you can make without significant impact on on programming, class sizes, without any structural or programmatic changes, and we were able to identify about 13 positions. Now, clearly all reductions have an impact, but it was thought that these could be made without too significant an impact on current class sizes or offerings in each school. And that does mean that comes to a point about school choice and numbers enrollment falling, so we were able to make some reductions.
So these
Not
are
painless.
generally teachers?
These are a mixture of primarily teachers, but also other support positions.
Mike, when you say first round, is this like the new first round?
This
Is
was
that
like,
what you mean?
I know,
The new
I'm
first
sorry.
round?
This was like at the start of the process when we
Okay.
went out and said, so this was our first round, this was like, look, we need to come in lower, what can you do with still delivering a level service but reducing the amount of staff?
Like starting again. Okay, first, that's why.
Yeah. it's a bit like, you know, yeah, it's just a first stab at reductions without making serious impact on the education or structure that we're. And so the following changes really were like, okay, well, having made those, if we make structural changes, can we also make further reductions without adversely impacting the education of students?
When you refer to support staff, you're
Yes.
referring to your assistant principals, as in some cases,
These,
two or three in the building.
these were no, these are more like, so that I'm coming on to that. This was more like teachers, paraprofessionals, those sorts of positions.
Deans and all,
Deans, yeah.
common questions, what do
Come-
deans do?
Yeah, here we go. Well, I'm coming to it. All right, perfect. All right, so leadership restructuring. So we did also look at how we might restructure our leadership positions. And this is, so we are reducing the number of assistant principals. So this is it. So after we made that first round, this is like, okay, if we make a structural change, and the structure we're looking at changing is our leadership, and we had employed, primarily we relied heavily on assistant principals. So if we reduced the number of assistant principals and replaced them with deans and curriculum supervisors, so it's got a district role, which would ensure we were still maintaining sufficient focus on discipline and a curriculum, teacher evaluations, all things that were part of our original budget priorities. It was not a huge change in the number of FTEs, 2 FTE, but it saves us, on my next slide, it saves us around $235,000 because those high assistant principals are more costly and don't do any teaching, replaced with deans who do some teaching.
Mark, was that, when you show that figure, that's all the benefits and so forth in that figure?
So none of our figures include benefits.
That's all
So
on the town side, yes.
Okay.
that doesn't mean we're not that doesn't mean we don't look at it. We've shared some figures with the town administrator on what the impact of these cuts might be on healthcare, health insurance. And he's looking at that and then trying to balance that with the cost of unemployment, if there's unemployment costs, and trying to weigh what saving there might be. But we do hope there will be some, there will also be some other savings.
I've talked with Derek about it also, and he's trying to go through, and it's complicated because it depends on which plan each individual is using, so the total savings based on that. And then on the flip side, this person's leaving, you also have to pay unemployment for that individual for however, how long you anticipate. So we're trying to balance that out now.
Yeah.
One other question, the supervisors,
Yep.
the deans focus on discipline and the assistant principals focus on discipline. Discipline will be taken over by the deans, is that correct?
Yeah. So, yeah.
This plan has one assistant principal left in every building. The deans then will come in because, rather mirroring the model of the high school with the deans, we'll move it down to the middle and elementary. One of the pieces that we have to keep in mind because of state mandated requirements, teacher evaluation. Every teacher that's on teacher evaluation cycle has approximately 10 walkthroughs, 10 evaluations per year. So when you think about the number of teachers we have multiplied by 10, for 1 or 2 people, it's impossible to do.
You have 199 teachers, I think, about that category, around 200, upwards of 200.
200 plus.
I agree with your number, by the way,
Which one?
235.
That's okay.
So, help me to frame this within my work experience.
Yeah.
You say replacements, are we talking about one-to-one replacements at just lower costs, or are we talking about asking people that are already full-time to take on additional responsibility? Do you understand the difference
Yeah,
here?
of course, yeah. So with the assistant principals so there's a couple of different things going on, but in terms of the assistant principals and the deans, assistant principals are full-time school administrators, right? And deans they're like a part-time administrator and part-time teacher. So they're teaching some of the time, and then they're also, the other part of their time, they're doing discipline and student management.
So these
like
deans are already in the existing school structure?
that. The position exists, but not these specific positions. So these new positions are going to be created.
Alright, So we're not just simply, so maybe I should clarify
Yeah.
that.
Manpower, I think you should.
When we lay
Yeah.
off people
Uh-huh.
at the firm, usually what that means is that other existing employees,
Take
regardless.
on more work.
Exactly,
Yeah.
that's what I'm asking.
So, no, it will be, sorry.
Because I think
There
there's
will be-
there's costs to that, not just
Okay.
financial costs,
Yeah.
there's also, you're asking people that I think are being underpaid to begin with
Yeah,
to take on even more work.
it definitely is an increase,
It
so there's,
will increase some people's work. Assistant principals help with supervision throughout the building when there's less principals, or assistant principals. Other people are gonna have to pick up supervisory roles, so we're going to be looking at that. But when you look at 235,000, and what that would mean if we would cut classroom teachers, that's a significant cut, which would raise our class sizes. And part of, when we go back to what our priorities are, it's keeping classroom teachers.
No, that's fine, that's
Yeah.
what I mean.
I mean, the net reduction is that 2 FTE then, so overall, there'll be 2 fewer people doing that kind of work.
And this model is already in the high school, so the deans aren't new to the whole
No,
system. The deans, it's already, like she said, being used in the high school. It'll just be brought down to the other 2 schools.
I just know that, it seems to me like everybody is doing everything that they possibly can with the limited resources that they have available to them. And anytime that, to me, you're talking about restructuring, where 3 of their chief responsibilities involve school discipline,
yeah,
I understand, I mean, I just think that, as somebody who recently moved into town, that the quality of education that the local school systems are able to provide are a significant portion of where the town is gonna go in the future. And if all we wanna be is a quaint seaside village, then that's fine. But if we're going to attract businesses and attract new people moving in, then the quality of the schools are important. I wanna know exactly where, if we say we need this budget, but we're willing to cut all this in order to come to a negotiation, what exactly those trade-offs are
Yeah.
gonna be.
yeah, we agree. I mean, there definitely has to be, so,
But there's a flip side to that coin.
I
You
get
can't
it.
live above your means.
Yeah.
That's the flip side. Sorry, go ahead.
alright, so the next, major reduction, major change we're looking at is in closing Minot Forest Elementary School. So, as you know, we have a project underway with the, a capital project to replace both the John W. Deacon's Elementary School and the Minot Forest Elementary School with one new building on the Minot Forest site. So among the benefits of this change, and there are educational and organisational benefits, there are also financial benefits just of having one fewer buildings to manage. And what we're trying to do with a short-term measure for a couple of years is capture some of those savings before the building's in place. So by closing down Minot Forest and moving grade 3 to Deacon's, grade 4 to the middle school, and grade 8 then moves up to the high school, we will have one fewer buildings to administer. And the hope is, or not the hope, the intention is we would then make savings as a result.
Do you have one less principal?
Yes. One less principal, and then also other changes to the leadership structure.
Does the town have to approve this, was it?
School committee approves closing of, opening and closing of schools.
But they're, not to jump forward,
No,
it's gonna require, borrowing and the like, so it's all gonna have to go past town meeting.
to open a new one.
Well,
Or to
I
build a
mean,
new one.
we're looking at,
We
50% of the savings you're projecting are not nailed down.
Well, these are, And what way are they not nailed down? What's not nailed down is the new building. But this,
Well, you've gotta get these modules and other things,
yeah,
presumably, where's that money coming from?
so that's what we're working with the town administrator on. And he's planning to, like, essentially borrow to buy the portables in the short term.
And that's gonna have to go through a special town meeting. In order for it to do it on a timely basis.
I'm not saying the town will reject it,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's one of those things that isn't done, and it's 50% of what
Yeah,
your savings you're talking about. So if the town says no,
yeah,
we're in big trouble. Very big trouble.
Now, all this is
This is like,
targeted towards
yes.
opening September 1st. Portables in place,
Yeah.
borrowed money borrowed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You are extraordinarily optimistic.
There's a lot of work ahead of them, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
And if the whole premise of getting the new school done by 2022, starting with having it passed on the ballot as an override, you're extraordinarily optimistic.
What about the likelihood of it being passed?
I would suggest you're gonna have to go minimum 2 bites of that apple to get it passed,
What's the new school?
to get it approved.
Well, but it's a no-brainer, really. And we're getting, what, 60-something percent
People's
back?
water bills are
Doesn't
going
make
up.
any difference. Doesn't make any difference.
People's water bills are going up. People are talking about a 2.5 to fund the school in general, and you're gonna throw an override on top of it.
Could be a day.
I'm not saying it's not worthwhile, and I'm going to advocate for it, but
Yeah, but I
I'm
mean,
just
if you're
telling
gonna
you
get so
that-
much money back from the state to build a new school, it's,
Yeah.
you know, that's
We're
crazy.
getting off topic here, but just to say there's an awful lot of negatives you
Yeah.
have to overcome.
No, I think you're right. I think
Before we even
you're
get
right.
there.
I don't know all the details of how you do this. Is there a contingency plan in the event that this just doesn't happen? I mean, this is like
So,
making a budget balance by projecting revenue that isn't certain. And then when the revenue doesn't happen, what do? So if this doesn't happen, we're looking at, $1.1 million. It's a problem.
yeah.
What are we gonna do?
Do you have a plan B? I know we're getting way ahead of ourselves here,
Yeah.
right?
If it
Well,
doesn't pass
in
for.
order to have these
Excuse me.
modules,
Sure.
May I
Yeah.
suggest?
Yeah.
I've interrupted and let's let them finish their presentation, because we're getting ourselves on tangents here, and we have to go through the budget first.
okay,
Hey,
I appreciate your patience, so I don't want to discourage your thoughts or your comments. Please continue, Michael.
so then, you're reading ahead, so you're seeing that that's the $1 million in savings, primarily staffing, at least for, primarily staffing in the first year. The non-staffing is net, because it includes all the costs of moving out of the building, and moving costs and so on. And then in terms of where the savings are, I mean, they are mostly amongst teachers. There's also some, this is just to give you a sense of the scale. You can see teachers as much, more than half. The operations and maintenance is also part of those savings. More instructional leadership savings, such as the principal. And then in terms of FTE reductions, let's say an even greater portion are classroom specialty teachers, and then also a few other areas. Then transportation is another area we're looking to make some reductions in. So we are planning to introduce a fee for transportation for students, and that would require all students who wish to ride the bus to register. So that would serve two benefits. One is obviously there'd be some revenue, but also there would be, by requiring everybody to register, we would get much more accurate numbers of who will ride the bus. So right now, we create routes for essentially everybody in the school, all students in the district. And this would allow us to better tailor the routes for who's actually going to ride. And we'd hope that way to reduce the number of routes we have. So that would allow us to reduce the number of routes we have, because we would have a better grasp on who's actually going to ride the bus. And then that means with fewer routes, we'd be able to use some of those drivers to do some of our other special education out of district ones, which we currently contract out. So all that, we hope we would save around $170,000.
On the buses right now, do you know how many do the students ride the buses on a regular schedule? Or sometimes you get 40 and sometimes you get 50 in the same bus route?
So there's definitely some ebbs and flows. So, and depending on when there's after-school activities, can reduce the numbers. You know, Friday afternoon can be more because there's fewer activities in the afternoon. So there is, and so we obviously would need to, you know, we would build the space on the buses for the maximum possible number of students. Not the maximum possible, but the maximum likely number of students.
Well, did you factor the number of students or the time they're gonna spend on the bus?
Both.
Because you already have students
So-
that are spending up to an hour on the
Yeah.
bus. That's gonna increase considerably.
So it wouldn't, I mean, so one of the challenges we have is Wareham is one of, you know, it's a big town, it's a big district, it covers a lot of land mass. And that is one of the reasons we have so many, you know, we have the number of routes we do. So I still think there's scope for reductions. I mean, we'd have to balance that. We would still not want anybody to be riding the bus more than an hour. So we'd be trying to balance fewer.
Now, 40 minutes is even a great deal, because of course, you're gonna have a route coming down from Buzzards Bay,
Yeah.
going up, and they're gonna pass Minot to go to Degas. And currently you have a contrast, and sometimes they won't pass Minot, but if they go to the upper grades, they
Yeah.
probably pass Minot and go all the way to Degas.
Yeah.
You have them sitting there on an hour on the bus, they're getting up a half hour to an hour before their counterparts. And they're already tired when they get there, sitting there on the bus.
But charging for buses will give them the ability to know exactly who's riding the bus. So then they can create bus routes that are much more efficient. Right now, they're planning a
Yeah.
bus route based on whoever might get on the bus. They'll be able to plan a bus ride on who's going to get on the bus. That makes a big difference. Yeah.
Your variable costs are minimal with bus,
Mhm.
Yeah.
fixed costs are, does closing Minot save you on busing? I'm imagining now that you have to go all over town.
Yeah, it saves us, so we do have a couple of routes which currently go, like one, but a Minot and a Deacon's bus go down the same route because they're going different places, and that is
They have
doing a
different
couple
grades.
of places, so that should also help. But then, the flip side of that is, you know, exactly what you were talking about earlier, where you've got kids, and some kids will be further away from their ultimate destination.
Are we gonna do, have an uproar about, people who might not have a lot of extra cash having to pay for the buses?
Buses,
Is
it
it
is,
$25 a month, is it $100 a month?
$100 for the year is what we're planning on. But it would only apply, you know, it would not apply to anyone who would otherwise qualify for free or reduced lunches.
If it was reduced, it'd be a sliding scale free, we can't charge.
Okay, so
And it'd
what
be a cap for
percentage,
families.
right, so I'm imagining if I'm on free or reduced lunch, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
sign up because I can do it for free.
Yeah.
And then subverted half of your goal there, but.
Yeah, but a big part of our goal is just knowing who's gonna ride the bus. So that is a significant part of it.
The other thing is everyone will have to have a bus card to get on. So even if you're free or reduced, you have to have a card to ride the bus. And that's our way of knowing who will be on the bus.
In a particular route also. Good.
It doesn't sound unreasonable.
I can just picture the bus driver,
No.
oh my God.
Oh, I know, and that's something that we're going to have to work on.
I mean, they like the kids, they want to
Yeah,
walk
I
yeah.
around.
understand.
And we would be
Right.
realistic, I mean, yeah,
Just for my write-up, this has been done somewhere else?
Oh, yes.
Oh,
charging,
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
with
We're not
majority of
taking
districts.
No.
Most places charge.
Yeah, most
Mhm.
districts.
Many do.
More common now than not.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think
so
so.
most districts are.
$100 a year is a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I think so.
Charge.
And it's only grades 7 through 12?
Within,
the busing.
yeah, there's so there are limits, we have to offer free aid transportation to certain ages and mileage if you're over 2 miles and so on, so, for certain grades.
So it's 6th grade and up.
seventh and up, I think,
Seventh,
seven
I
through
believe.
12,
Seven
and
and
over 2 miles. I mean, so over seven and up, we can charge.
Yeah.
And then 1 through 6 under 2 miles, we can also charge.
Reducing-
K through 6, I assume?
Yes.
You're reducing kindergarten to half-day?
No. So that's my next slide. Oh,
That's
wow,
next
jeez.
slide.
Yeah. This is our plan B, so these are the
Kim's
options.
shaking her head no, because we haven't got to that page
Yeah.
yet, right?
So these are the, so this isn't really as much, it's not as planned out as you're asking, right? So, but these are the other options we have looked at, and if we would need to go back to if the Minot Forest project wasn't, closing Minot Forest wasn't possible. So, these are all the things we looked at. Now, I'm not saying these are the things we'd next, these are not the things we do, but some of these are probably the things we do. So we looked at, reducing kindergarten to half day, reducing in programming, higher class sizes, which would be almost definite, cutting existing programming, extending the bus walking zone, so not even offering it within 2 miles. Definite leadership structures, cutting all assistant principals, just not doing any transportation, moving preschool back to East Wareham School building, see if that would help. Cutting athletic program and extracurricular activities, not increasing substitute pay and pay, that's twice. So those are the sort of things we would look at. I mean, it's not full plan B yet, but
Not pretty.
I'm very sympathetic to the problem you have, okay? The reality is, we've got to come up with a balanced budget. I've lived here long enough to know how this town is going to react to something as substantial as closing a school. And then there are all these operational issues of how you get that working in time to take advantage of this. So I don't need to know what Plan B is.
no, you just want to know
but
that there's
I'd
one.
love to have a
Yeah.
Plan B.
I think that we really have Plan A, B, C, and maybe even a D plan, because those are all things that we've thought of. If we were not to close Minot and just look at reductions, in staffing, we'd be looking at approximately 50 positions. And what that would do to class sizes, we might as well just shut our doors. Right now, with the plan that we presented, our class sizes stay in the lower elementaries at 20 or a few students higher, between 20 and 22 to 23 students. In the upper elementary, we move up a little bit in anywhere from 24 to 26. And in the high school, it's very difficult to determine because depending on the class that's being offered, depends on the number. What we also look at is our special education, because we're bound by regulations and law that we can only have X number of students in special ed classes. So if anything's going to be cut, it's going to be regular education, which, well, we think that all students deserve a right for a exemplary education. So that's one reason why we went with the plan that we've presented to you. It is a fear of ours, what happens.
Can I just ask you, one of the problems is we've got all these kids going to other school districts, and it's increasing. With these changes, is that going to accelerate, when do we reach a tipping point where we might as well just close the schools? Because the town has to do something. We can't do this year after year after year.
You're exactly right. And while there are many reasons why students leave, I think one of the reasons we hear is they want their children to go to a school whose town supports education. And when we have to continually cut services for students to survive, as parents looking, where do I want my child to go, it's...
Let me address the school committee member here, who's gonna have to speak for all of them. At what point in time do you guys go over the hill and finally say, we need a 2.5? When is it important enough to the students that you say we need a 2.5, period?
Well, that's been done. and it wasn't
No,
successful.
excuse me, that's irrelevant. That happened then, that's 5 years ago.
Mhm.
This is today. You've got students over there in that system today. At what point are they important enough to ask for, let's call it that, if you wanna refer to it, another one? Because you think it's important enough. Because right now, I don't think you do. Because your group does not ask for it. If it's that bad, don't tell me what you're gonna do here, how great it's gonna be, because my next question is gonna be, what are the consequences to the children of this plan?
Well,
I don't care how many people are gonna have a job. I wanna know what the consequences are, and when are you gonna think it's serious enough?
well, Michael's first slide pointed out what the priorities were, and so that's what, this is, closing Minot is drastic. But we've worked really hard to come up with this budget that will, like, it was said, that to keep the class sizes low and prioritize, and the students are the priority. As far as a 2.5 override, I mean, that's something, of course, that we would consider, but there are other, you know, in this town, we have to consider how that would go.
No,
I
you only
think-
have to consider one person, that's the child in the classroom.
Mhm.
The child you are responsible for, and with all due respect, I'm talking to you as a school committee.
And I understand, and that is our number one priority. And like we pointed out, if we said, well, no, closing Minot is too drastic, so, but we would lose too many teachers, and that,
One of the problems is
affect the
if you
children.
wait too long to solve this problem, it'll be too late. So 3 years from now, we could pass a 2.5, it won't make any difference. You won't be able to hire a teacher, the students will have left, the place will be in shambles. It will take you a generation to rebuild these schools. So it seems to me there needs to be some sense of urgency here. The worst thing that happens is you lose. But this is not sustainable.
Because you have to look for next year also.
Oh.
No
And the
way
year
to
following.
balance a budget year after year without increased revenue. You just can't do it.
So, I'll go back to the last time that was attempted, and there was, you know, it was outlined what that money was gonna be spent for. And with all due respect to town government, I'm told by people who voted against that they didn't have faith in the town that money would continue to be spent on the schools. And that's why now that's just my opinion and what
I've sat with COA, and I know those are the people who actually go to polls and vote.
Mhm.
And if you analyze what the vote process was, and please, with all due respect, there was little support from the parents of the school children. Only 4,000 people voted total, and if you look at demographically where they were from, they weren't from the population centers where the children are living.
I have heard from staff who work in the schools who voted no, because they didn't have faith in the town. So
Maybe
I
things have
am,
changed.
I'm sorry?
Maybe things have changed.
You're right,
but
I
if-
believe
if,
that
you
they
know,
have.
I've heard the same thing, but I think the answer to it is, well, you can keep saying that until this town simply breaks down.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
You'll have no municipal services, you'll have no schools, you'll have nothing. It'll be a ghost town.
Dominic?
yeah, I want to say something. You know, you also, you know, have to live, you know, with your means. Now, how can other towns of almost the same demographic as us pay less per student for a decent education? Now, Wareham High's price per student for education is high compared to around us. Now, what does that mean? You know, I'm not sure, I'm not into that budget. Is there too much fat in there? There isn't. But the cost per student that we pay at Wareham High is not the lowest in all of our area. As a matter of fact, it's quite high.
But-
Okay, Bourne is less, Plymouth is less,
But
Middleborough is
every-
less.
every
These
time-
schools are less per student.
Right, every time a student goes to another district, the
No,
cost
that-
per student goes up.
No,
We have
that,
the same infrastructure costs, and we have, if you look on the states, we have a higher percentage of special ed than most towns.
now the
It
special ed
might even be
is,
than almost all towns, we're really at the top of that list.
okay, special ed does cost more, but our price, I didn't look into that part of it.
The high
But our
school,
cost per student is higher.
how many
than
students
most
was the high
towns.
school built for?
Approximately 800 plus.
We have, what, 450, 500?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
we have the same heat bill, we
Yeah.
have the
No,
same
I
maintenance,
understand
Or
that.
principals.
the same principle,
But
that, so
When-
there's a massive
Yeah.
fixed cost
I understand.
that goes along with the variable costs of teachers and paper and books.
Right, the fixed cost is something that, you know, we're gonna have to pay per student, you know, we're gonna have to, you know, I'd like to see it broken down,
And that-
fixed cost.
That's why closing
Or
mine
fixed
helps,
cost.
because we're pushing 7th grade up, now
The
that
eighth grade's just
Eighth grade, just eighth
8th
grade.
grade's going up.
So that fixed cost
So
stays
that
the
fixed,
same.
fixed cost
So
is
that will
now
reduce the
spread
cost,
over
yeah.
more students in the high school,
But excuse
and the
me,
fixed cost for mine, it goes down, hopefully it'll be just falling on itself, we don't have to do anything to it. But
let's not relive the past, for one. It lost, okay, so it did. If you don't feel strong enough to step into the fight, then don't bother. Don't bother with your career, don't bother with re-election, don't bother with anything. If you're not willing to step into the fight, then don't bother.
2.5
I don't think that's really fair though, because,
It isn't fair,
you know,
because
well, that's
from my
not fair
point of
for
view,
you to
I'm
put that
advocating
on
2.5.
us.
I'm sitting here advocating 2.5.
Mhm.
That's not.
I don't have to teach, I don't have to plan the system, I don't have to run it, I don't have to see the children having too many, because you're advocating 15 per grade, per classroom, and yet you're doing plus 20. You're increasing it for what you have now. I don't have to do that, but I'm willing to fight because I know those children are getting shortchanged. Because no matter what plan you have, my question is, as well known when I, over in the Minot Building Committee, is the children,
maybe we should start the petition with them.
Well, I was just about to say,
Start a
that's not
petition
only on the
with
school
them.
committee, that's on all of us. That's on all of us to work together. Nothing, and it was never gonna get passed unless we're all working
well, we're
together.
the advisors at town meeting. We're the only one that they listen
But
to.
there are other
We're the
towns that
gatekeepers.
don't have 2.5, Bernie, that pay less to educate their students.
That's going to be something that's important for the school
But you know
committee
something,
to
Dominic? I
present
think that's irrelevant.
and to explain.
You can say it's irrelevant, but,
I mean, that's my opinion, because it doesn't make
but I
any
don't think
difference.
2.5 is your whirlwind. I mean, it's gonna, it would help, I'm not saying I wouldn't vote against it, but I don't think so.
State average, we're paying the
Nobody
teachers
wants
13,000
a
less.
fat budget. It's inconceivable to me, I haven't been here that long, but since the time I've been on the finance committee, this school committee has cut and cut and cut. I can't believe that there's a hell of a lot of fat left. I just can't. Now, there may be some structural issues as to why Wareham's cost is more per student. And I'm perfectly happy to sit down, and I hope the rest of us are with the school committee, and be able to present that to the town to explain why it's not because we've got a budget that is out of whack. It's because of certain things that we can't
There
control.
might be this
And
special.
some of them is getting those students back to this town, okay, and getting money for them instead of having to.
No,
spend
that school
everything
choice
else.
thing is a bunch of baloney.
Well,
Well, hear me out, I'm gonna say
Can we
something
just-
about school choice.
Every
I'm
town
gonna say something about
goes
school
somewhere
choice,
else.
because I looked into it, I already talked to Michael, I talked to, don't say what about it, okay, school choice is, the state gives us $5,000 per student. Now, this doesn't affect fixed costs like Ellis says, okay? It gives us $5,000 per student, okay? The student, and if you do the cherry sheet and you minus what the town does, okay, it's $4,938 is what we get from the state per student. We're only giving $5,000 away to the town, that, the school choices, we're losing $62, not $5,000. We're getting $49.38 per student from the state. We're only giving away $5,000 to another town.
I hear you.
It doesn't affect that. The fixed cost, yes, I understand, they stay the same,
Every time-
but that's not a big loss. The
No,
school
no,
choice,
I'm
that's a
not
bunch of
talking about
baloney.
us. But you're claiming that our costs are higher. Every time a student leaves this district, our cost per student goes up.
Because of fixed costs, yes, I
Well, I'm
understand.
just saying,
I don't
that's
know how
part
much
of the
that is,
reason.
but to say we lose 3 million or whatever
I'm
from
not
school
saying that.
choice is
But
wrong.
we have to explain to the town why our costs are higher than other towns. That's a big reason.
Yeah, no, it is a big reason.
I went on the DISA website today, and I got the cost per student,
Okay,
which is $15,409.
okay.
And I got the breakdown in different categories, which is interesting.
Oh, I'd love to see him, yeah.
Administration we're talking of 15,000. Administration is $450. Instructional leadership, $1,300. Teachers, $5,700. Other teaching services, $1,300. Professional development, $100. Here's the big one, there's guidance, $1,500. Pupil services, $1,000. However, benefits and fixed charges, $3,300. So what we're forgetting is not, this includes here, all the benefits, retirement, the health insurances, that's $3,300 of the $15,000 is for that,
So about that.
that you can't do anything about,
Yeah.
unless you cut FTEs. The fixed for the building, on the other hand, is operation and maintenance, $1,000. That's not a, that's,
So you're saying the fixed cost isn't that high?
I'm saying it's 1,000 of the
So-
15
So
per
it's one,
Yeah.
so it's a
court.
15.
Just a couple, there's just a couple of things I would say. One is that actually for school choice, we lose more like over 6,000 per student. But at the end of the day, that's nothing. But also this distinction between fixed and variable costs is helpful only to a point because yes, the building is a fixed cost. The principal's a fixed cost. Because I could lose 200 kids from a school, I still need a principal. And also, if I have 20 kids in a class and I lose one student, I can't pay my teacher 1/20th less. I still pay them. So that, although that technically would be a variable cost, it only varies after I lose 20 students from that grade. And that's, so you're right in the sense that school choice does reflect a change in our expenditure, without a doubt, because we have fewer students. And I think some of those that first round of cuts were kind of reflecting that we had fewer students and we could make changes, but that only goes so far. And another point I would just like to point is that list, I think, and it comes back to the point you made, Alice, about special education, that our numbers, when you look at that, are out of whack because of special education, because of the high percentage we
I
have.
think we're 15%
And-
higher than the
yeah.
state average.
And also transportation, both as it relates to special education and as it relates to the size of the town. If you compare as our per student cost of transportation is high, and it's to do with special ed, and it's just to do with the size of the town. We just need more buses because we got exactly that.
Well, I got 6 figures that we pay for out-of-district expense. One is the account 9100, which is the occupational education day tuition.
Yeah.
That's $117,000 a year. Then if you go to tuition to non-public schools, that's $1,600,000 round off. Account 9400, tuition to collaboratives, $1,600,000. Then on the cherry sheet, we have to pay through the cherry sheet tuition for school choice, $1,300,000, and charter schools, $700,000 or $800,000. That total, just what we pay out, is $6 million. Put in Upper Cape, $3 million. We're paying out $9 million.
Upper Cape does come out of the town budget.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Nonetheless.
and it's not in here, but
Correct,
it's, I'm adding it to, because it's in a sense of what we pay for school, $9
Our
million.
children are losing from the system.
Yeah.
Now, I had a couple of questions for Mike. When you show these here, are these net of grants or are like the account 9100?
That's our budget. Is that our account line
Yeah,
budget you're looking at?
yeah.
Yes, that's net of grants.
That's
Yes.
grants, okay.
Yes.
So we may get more in, we may
Yeah,
get.
so that doesn't include like, some revenue we have, some grants we receive
Yeah,
to pay for
yeah,
some of those
so
things.
it's net, it's
So, yeah.
the
So
expense.
out of district tuition is there's like another 700,000 on that.
Yeah. So anyway, you're paying out $9 million.
So you asked, one of the things, what are we also looking at? We're also looking at joining in, as far as challenging the state on how they fund schools. You might have seen the article in the Globe on Sunday. that
Brockton,
Rob, yeah, there's some,
There's some
great
others.
idea.
So we're looking at that as well, because we don't think we're equally funded. But as far as joining forces with a 2.5% override, you're exactly right. Our children are losing. We continue every year to reduce our budget. We're unable to add opportunities for our students and maintain opportunities for our students in the fashion that we would like. Our students deserve it. We also have a number of students who have experienced significant trauma. There are students, they deserve to have the services to cope, to maintain, and to move ahead. But that costs money. We've added social workers in every building. If we had additional money, I would put additional social workers in because our students come to us with great needs. It's a reflection of the town. And it's something that we deal with on a daily basis. You talk about the high school. Our percentage of special ed at the high school is much greater than the area special eds high schools around. And so yes, there is significant. You know, one of the things that I've heard bantered about is the fact that I have a class of three students for an IB course. I do, but that course will grow and we will have additional students in the class next year. But that course provides our students with an opportunity to move ahead that other schools in the Commonwealth do not have. So we're very proud of some of the programs that we're able to offer for our students. On the converse, I have special education classes with 3 students, with 4 students. So I think when you look at it globally, every student deserves a chance for an equal and fair and rigorous opportunity for their education. And that's what we're trying to do. I'm not happy about closing Minot. I have great concerns about closing Minot ahead of a building project being approved. Great concerns. But I also know that if we don't make some kind of move like this, what will happen to our system? It will devastate it. And my students do not deserve to come to school and sit in classes with 50 kids, with 40 students. They don't deserve that. Now, if you would like to join forces, we would love to have conversations with you. We would love to come up with a plan to have a 2.5% override. We need it. But to ask my committee to do it by themselves, that's not possible.
We're not asking them to do it by themselves, but we just feel that the exposure in town, and obviously the group that is most severely impacted, is the school system and the students. And we think that it's appropriate that the school committee take a leadership role in that effort.
Okay.
A couple of other things I had a couple of questions. Implementing this reduction in cost, one of the things that is going to happen is there's going to be additional cost to the town. These are savings that you're projecting. There's a cost to make the move. Just physically moving students, equipment, books, everything else from Minot to Deacon's is going to be expensive. You're talking about additional vehicles to take over some of the transportation. You're talking about seven what?
70.
Small 70 vehicles.
Yeah.
And also the portable classrooms. So there is an incremental cost that the town is going to have to absorb. And I'm sure you've discussed this with Derek.
So
Perhaps you could discuss it a little bit with us.
yeah. So the cost of moving everybody, like the physical moves, that is reflected in here already. So the savings are net of the moving costs.
Good.
So
It's just inclusive of moving costs, doesn't include any of the purchase costs.
As in the portables?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't include the portables. So the portables are capital. So this is our there was the 3 things you said. So one was the moving costs, that's reflected in here. The other was the purchase of 7D vehicles. So that is something we've discussed. That we have had initial discussions with town. However, we're looking at a couple of different options. One is financing them over 3 to 5 years, because we think the savings would be, if we could. Well, we have a couple which need to be replaced. And also if we were able to bring in a couple of routes, it would more than
We
pay.
got 10 buses we can purchase if we can find the balance of the monies.
You're gonna find $700,000, Bernie.
One of the things that we know when we have to send out students out of district transportation with other companies other than what from us, it's costing us a tremendous amount of money. They're able to charge it because supply and demand. If we can capture those routes back with the money that we save, that's what we would use to purchase the vehicle. So it's really a wash, the way we would look at it
Yeah.
over a period of time, because, you know, it's some transportation, it's as much as,
For an individual student, I mean, it ranges from $10,000, right, you know, goes right up. Depends on the needs of the student, because some students need, they have a bus, so sometimes we're running a bus, and they need wheelchair access, and they need a nurse or a professional in the
Is
bus.
it possible to track some of those students back? I assume tuition is 50,000 plus,
Yeah,
plus 10 in tuition, and I'm thinking a school teacher fully loaded,
yeah,
is, what, 85
Yeah.
with insurance and
less
everything?
than, with insurance, yeah.
we've, yes, we've been building some programs at the high school, and we have now been shopping our programs with other districts to see if we can bring in some students from other districts. We know what other collaboratives charge, so we have come in under what that charge would be to bring them in, and we're starting to generate some interest. So yes, we are looking at that.
I think the key is to hire that lights out person.
Yeah, the problem though
That
is,
amazing
yeah,
specialist, my wife did floor time in New York
Yeah.
at a private school, just that person that really
Mhm.
can attract the parents' attention.
yeah.
And,
The only problem with building in district programs is one is, they're very expensive to run. So that's why you have dedicated schools which have will attract many of students with those needs, and therefore can spread the costs of the specialised staffing and the facility and so on.
Those tuitions are $75,000 plus transportation?
Yeah.
Or more.
Or what
And
you're
these
doing,
programs are,
you're on spec, because you only hope you get the students.
well, so that's the other problem. And also so if we have 3 students and we build a program around 3 students, and then one leaves, all of a sudden now your program's upside down in cost. We don't have any flexibility around, you know, if you're running an institution and that's all you serve, then you lose a kid, but you contract another one over there, you have such more fluidity, and then so your program is more resilient. Because I think that's partly, we have run programs before, and that's been part of the problem we've had, is that a couple of students graduate, and now the calculation doesn't work anymore. So it's very,
You're leaving the 200,000 that we've set aside earlier in the year, you're not touching that?
we're trying.
We have no plans to touch it at this point. It's making Michael very nervous.
You spend is underfunded, so you meet the classification, you just have to make an appointment with the selectmen.
Yeah.
Brett, I have another question.
Yes.
Has anyone ever looked into seeing if the water districts would do anything with education? Is there
They won't even give you free water to water your
No,
grave.
No, I understand they're tough, but you gotta remember, they're making as much money as the town. And, you know, I mean, I read how, a lot of their laws are, but, you know, can it be changed? I mean, if you go to the district meetings, they're very, very small. You get a certain amount of people and you parade into those districts, you can change a vote, I've seen it done.
You're trying to
I've been in
pack the
town a
house.
long time, you can pack the house. I mean, I've been to the Onset Water District where 12 people vote on their annual budget. 12 people in the thing. You parade 100 people in there and petition a warrant. I mean, these things can happen. And the water districts have very few people who attend their meetings.
Out of the 12, how many were firemen?
Probably half.
All of them like
And
you.
me, I'm stupid enough to go to these stupid things. But
So it's 11 to 1?
But hear me out, there's a lot of money there.
Well, it's
There's a lot of
creative.
money there. Of course it's
But
creative.
it seems a little devious.
No, it's not devious. They're part of our town. Their kids go to their school.
Think of the goal.
Think
Well,
about the
no,
money.
I
The
agree.
Wareham Water District has more money than the town.
Mhm.
It is a 20%
They gain more
surcharge
money
on my
than the
tax.
town.
It's
Okay?
ridiculous.
So why not go after where the money is? My father taught me that when I was 2. Go to that pocket, that's where the money is. That's how it was my whole life, okay? Go where the money
Go to
is,
your
that's how
mother's
you find
purse.
it.
That's where the money
No,
is.
no, he didn't do it there, it's his pocket.
That's
But that's my opinion, it can be done.
But I
Something
think
to look at.
overall, from what all their comments are, I would take back to the school committee, if they wanna go forward with it, I mean, we're the gatekeeper on the town meeting. That if you wanna go forward with it, start with it, and I could say informally, we could support that.
Okay.
Why defer it to them? If we believe it's important, why shouldn't we take the leadership
I agree
point
with
on it?
that.
No, I mean, it's certainly something that we should be working on together.
Hard sell.
It is a hard
It's a
sell.
hard sell. Bernie already said it, the amount of people who vote, the people who need it more aren't voting. That's end of your conversation.
Well,
So
if
you
if
lose.
you can get them a COA
But if you don't
director,
even
I'm
try,
gonna
All
see
right,
it.
lost.
we've tried a few times.
No.
I think it's all about
And it isn't
educating.
just the schools that need money.
I
You have to
understand.
be aggressive,
Mhm.
very aggressive. Now,
Gotta
the
be smart.
backpack goes home, PTA has to do it, you can't do it. But now the backpack goes home every week without a flyer in it.
It is gonna be a tough sell, cause the water district's going up, the sewer commissioner wants 10 million bucks. What else is going up?
New building.
Well, the fire's going up,
Fire,
Fires.
water.
on one of
going
them
up.
going up, water in the other.
Well, and
Uh,
hopefully in November there'll be a vote on the
New
new school.
building.
November?
It's that far along?
No.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
I saw some
Well,
plans on
it's gonna
Facebook
have
this
to go
morning.
before
Yes,
town
yes,
meeting
the-
first.
So it will
But
come up at
you don't wanna
town
be on the
meeting.
ballot also, because it's negative. That's a negative feeling that you have already made the decision by putting it on the town ballot before you get town meeting to approve of it.
Town
They're
meeting
very
approves it
sensitive.
first.
First,
Selectmen,
yes,
yeah.
but as
Yes.
Chad says, he has to go before the attorney general has to have the information.
So the
by,
selectmen, yeah.
August.
So the selectmen have to vote over the summer to get it onto the ballot before,
Politically speaking-
before October.
My discussion informally, politically speaking, it's not a good idea for them to make the decision first to put it on the ballot before they go before town meeting. And so they won't, it's a possibility,
So-
of course, they make their own mind up, I'm not speaking for them. But, to consider, to not have town meeting's approval before choosing to put on a ballot, is circumventing town meeting. And
We're-
town
we're
meeting
not,
is
it's
a
just-
feasibility study, town meeting has to approve the borrowing
Yeah,
for that.
it would just be a waste of paper at the ballot if town meeting had approved it. So you're not circumventing the vote.
The
You're just-
alternative is they just call a special ballot, a special election after town meeting.
Yeah, but that costs money,
Mm-hmm.
and we're trying to minimize the cost.
Right.
So you have to spend it, if you don't do it the correct way, no matter how much you try to save, you're gonna lose all or all. But if you spend it and you win, you're a winner. If you spend it and you lose, you try.
Yeah,
So,
So it's a win-win.
well, if you don't spend it, we win.
so I guess, you know, I certainly, if the committee would be willing to continue the conversation about the 2.5, I know our school committee would be very eager to join in, because this has not been this is a very difficult experience. Every year it's increasingly more difficult, and to be quite honest, we're to the place, we have no place else to go.
And to your comment first, Kim, in the early part of our conversation, you were afraid that the Minot building was gonna lose, and you're stuck the next 50 years in portables,
I am very
and that's the
concerned.
gamble.
None of us are gonna get voted out of office, so it's easy for us to support.
Okay. Thank you, and should you have other questions, we're more than happy to answer, and we'd be happy to sit down and talk with you anytime.
And
But I
direct
think we
with your
need these
counterparts.
discussions.
I don't want any wishy-washy.
I'm sorry?
I don't want a wishy-washy. I want them to throw themselves on their swords.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I should come in and see you anyway, but when I get, right on top,
Have a motion to close the hearing?
accurate and.
So move second. Thank you. All those in favor say aye. It's unanimous.
Are you guys finished?
We're close.
Do we have anything else tonight?
Just votes.
Just
We
votes.
gotta catch up.
Did we have the cemetery commission before I came in?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I gave you the wrong version.
By the way, this is the best site on Facebook. It's called The Front of My Kayak. And the only pictures you can put on have to have the nose of your kayak, or they'll take it off.
Oh, really?
It's the best site on Facebook.
Oh.
Non-controversial.
Yep.
You don't have the front of your kayak, you're out. But, they had plans for the schools up here today. I don't know if anyone else saw those.
No,
Bernie, what are we gonna be voting on?
The ones we've reviewed thus far.
Makes sense.
Okay,
See this, Bernie?
yes. I'm not sure who put that on,
Which was this?
but they've got a communications, I missed the going to the meeting.
which,
This is straight Facebook.
what is it?
It's not on
Is it-
Wareham.
This is the cost of fixing up Minot. This is the cost of a one-story building that might include part of Minot.
Added
This
to-
is the part of a two-story building leveling Minot, and this is the cost of a three-story building leveling Minot.
And what is this on? This is on Facebook?
Where matters.
Wareham Matters. Oh, it is on Wareham Matters now.
Yeah.
All right, good.
See, the problem they're gonna have is like the total cost is, let's say the direct share, is 86 million. When the voter walks into the polling booth, he's gonna see borrowing 86 million, because we have to borrow the whole nut. We
Well, we
make
get
it,
67% back.
That's 74%.
now,
Is it 74, okay?
notice say on average, 10% is non-reimbursable. So now we're down to 70 million. They will only reimburse us 72% of that 70 million.
Okay,
So that's another 18 million added to the 10 million that we actually have to pay. So we're paying,
20
borrowing,
million.
we're paying 28 million. Plus interest on the entire borrowing.
That's
Nothing
interest
you'll
on
get
the
anything
entire
for
borrowing.
free.
Who pays it off?
Nothing's
We do.
for free, all
We
right?
do,
Tax
nothing's for
dollars.
free.
What, 80 million? Huh?
Now, we get, I think it's
I'm
either, I
confused.
think MSBA pays their portion on a monthly basis, we get a check every month. For only their portion.
Of
Their percentage.
principal.
Yeah.
Principal,
Mhm.
So they're paying in future dollars.
right. Smart.
Who the hell, what finance class did they take?
Same one you did. They're on the other side, though. They're on the other side. The giver's not the
This
taker.
never ends.
It's almost up to three.
Okay, some of the votings we have to go on. As an example, Article 3 on the annual town meeting warrant, compensation of certain appointed officials. The only person we're aware of is the town clerk, because she's an elected official, but her salary or pay is accounted for within the operating budget.
And Claire
Moderator.
gets a little bit also.
She has an expense,
An
but she's
expense
never
account.
drawn on it.
But again, we have to authorize it,
Yes.
yes.
I vote to approve whatever.
Motion to approve is, have a second?
Second,
All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed? Abstained? It's a vote?
Can we get a real list on who exactly this affects?
Usually it's clerk,
Yeah,
Moderator.
town moderator, and registrar,
that's what I have on my list.
yeah.
Okay. All right,
Assistant moderator, no pay there, going up?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, okay.
and should we put salary levels in our explanation, or?
Usually we have, because the clerk's salary changes from year to year.
All right, so I'll have to ask for
But see,
details.
all those salaries are covered within the operating budget. The town clerk has the different departments within her department, with registrations, voting.
But,
What did you say, Kelly?
no, I'm
You
just
just-
saying, again, how it's been done before, we do, even though it's
Right.
in the operating budget, we list,
All right,
what it
we'll
is.
get those. when we
Okay, yeah.
get
like,
them
I
in.
think moderator's like 118 per diem,
Right,
and then the registrar, I'm not quite sure, 500 or
right.
whatever.
So
Yeah,
we'll
they're
run
in
it
our
by,
budget.
by Derek and
Yeah,
find out
we'll,
what
yeah,
the
we'll
numbers
get
are.
it.
Today, you go to McDonald's on the corner.
Right.
So we voted on that?
Yep.
And,
Approved.
approved.
Okay, going down the list, Article 7 is the budget. And we just have the last department that we had not yet reviewed. Oh, we're missing the sewer budget. And that was absent because Guy's father has passed away. So we don't have that as yet. I have scheduled it for next week. If you, because it's gonna be an enterprise fund, which is a separate article also.
I'd like to hold off on the budget until we hear from Derek regarding the impact of the revised school budget on our operating budget.
A lot of times we don't vote the budget till the night of the town meeting.
That's
what
true.
it's done in the past.
Yes,
We
unfortunately.
waited right till the end, yeah.
We're gonna try and be different this time.
Okay,
We would like to be different.
okay.
Can we get a,
I've been here a long time, guys, I haven't seen it yet, okay?
sort of a summary of what we
You guys
went
are
over
gonna
for
be
the budget for
first.
all these guys, or no?
No, the last, what, I've been here 8 years.
Someone take notes?
Yeah, at least. And with a year
Yeah,
in the middle, but it's still,
We try and get you copies of what they submitted. It'd be easier doing it that way. I think the most blatant one was the police budget. And David created a chart, which I sent out to everyone.
Yeah, I saw that, I didn't kind of get into it though. But they're,
The number of officers we have, according to the chief, is the same number we had back in the 70s. And the number of calls, 911 calls, are over 54,000. That is the highest number amongst the comparable communities in our area. It is also the lowest number of officers of the comparable communities in the area.
so we have the fewest officers. And the most calls. Ambulance budget was just the same as always.
Yes. They have 3 ambulances.
He's still pushing money back to the town.
He's pushing back 200 to 300 a year, is returning to the general fund. And he had something like 10,025 calls last year. So,
10,025, okay,
yep, 1,025 calls.
1,025.
But we've turned it around. 4 or 5 years ago, we were actually, we kind of jokingly referred to it as our ambulance runs, our ambulance calls were paying for a new ambulance in Bourne.
it did.
Because Bourne was called in so many times
We bought them a
to
new one,
take,
yeah.
take runs that actually they got enough money from those calls to buy a new ambulance. We've turned that around and actually we have a net, we still share ambulances between the towns, but we do more calls in other towns now than they do in ours.
Yep.
So we've turned it around very well,
Yeah, mutual
And
aid
we
is-
replace them in a rotating system where we're doing great,
right?
yeah.
And
Seems
we've-
like Brewster is the real go-getter there. I see their
Yeah.
ambulances
Well,
everywhere.
Brewster is different. Brewster makes transports between the hospital and the nursing homes.
Yeah, they don't do 911
They don't do
calls.
911 calls.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
And we talked to the EMS about, should they be doing these transfers? The problem is that unless you have a surplus of ambulances, you don't want to be carrying someone from
The people were overqualified to
a
do
nursing
that, I
home
think was the answer.
to the hospital for a doctor's appointment
Right,
when someone's dying of a heart attack.
right.
So our EMS does the 911 calls, which are the important ones.
Yeah.
Brewster is transporting people between nursing homes, to the
hospitals,
doctors,
yeah.
Yeah,
much less intensive
Right.
actions.
so they just need a guy like me to drive rather
Yeah,
than someone
Toby
who can
wants to
actually
send someone
do
to
something.
Boston.
Right, right. So EMS really is essential to the well-being of our town.
I figured I could pull off the Heimlich, but that's about it. Never really tried it.
So, yep. Ken Buckland talked about his work on grants, and he's looking at, $500,000 in grants so far in various areas. They're looking at working on performance bonds, trying to close those out, reviewing them. There are a number of performance bonds that have been not closed out for many, many years within the town.
What are performance, this
What-
is where I give the town a deposit of
Right.
$50,000, it says I'm gonna put curbing in or whatever.
Exactly, a big,
Right.
big like development,
Yep, you're
or
putting in a
anyone that
road
needs
or-
to be bonded and
Curb
everything like
cuts,
that.
everything is
I actually get
financed.
1099s for work, for performance bonds, and we have no idea what they're for anymore. It's like $25 in interest, and then everyone loses interest in what the principal might be.
Right, right. So as a consequence, at this point, we don't even know whether the bonds would be sufficient to finish the work in some of these instances.
Or if the work's been done,
Or if the
or
work
if
has been
there's
done.
money coming back,
Right.
yeah,
Right,
it's a mess,
it is.
that's what he said,
Yeah,
yeah.
because the downside of those bonds is oftentimes developer will come in and say, yeah, I'll do that, so they release a portion of the bonds. So at some point, the value that is left is not sufficient
To cover the work.
to cover with the balance of it, what the,
But he said
Punch
there
list
was
is-
some that might actually, if they don't collect them or the company went bankrupt, will come back to the town.
That's
There
correct.
might be some money that might come back. He
There's
didn't
an
say there
opportunity.
was, but he said it might.
yeah. He has an
Right.
assistant there that, very nice young lady, and she's pursuing
Cassandra.
all that.
No,
Cassandra
No,
is the
that's
chief's
just,
secretary.
what about Gary? The harbor master has these plans to build a pier, and they want hundreds of
CPC.
thousands of dollars
Yeah,
just for the, well, I'm not so much worried about CPC, I'm worried about them coming in and borrowing $5.5 million and then asking us to make payments.
well, that's,
But he makes money,
he does make money every
huge
year.
money.
He doesn't make that kind of money.
Well, I don't know what the interest
no,
would be on
but
what he
he
wants
was
to
supposed to
borrow.
be in with Sandy, because that was money, and I asked Sandy, she said she had invited everyone, make them aware of it, and so I didn't go forward, although I had left a voicemail message for Gary and told him when we'd be in, but I didn't hear from him.
So I
I'll
guess what
follow
I'm
up on
saying
that.
is, if we can't afford to build the pier, I'd rather not spend the money to do the engineering.
Then-
I'll ask him to come in next week, and, because he should be here.
Again, if we don't have the engineering, we're not, if it takes a year to do the engineering, we want to be eligible for grants and be able to
Well,
go out
that
after
could
the
be the
grants.
answer, that we're not borrowing $5.5 million, we're getting $5 million in grants, and we've got to scratch together 500,000, or whatever the answer
No.
is, I just,
Gary's been
I guess-
very good at that, and he's looking forward to working with the Buzzards Bay Coalition,
yeah, and they're
On
good
the-
at raising money.
and they're very
Yes.
good at raising money.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I just don't think we can afford it,
we can't right now.
and I want to make sure they have a plan.
Mhm. Yes, yes. So it was a very informative discussion over the course of the day, and, you know, hopefully the people watched it on television, because our audience was small.
Yeah. Brady, we gonna do the next article,
Okay,
14?
next Article 11,
Oh, 11. But 13 was the Peter, no?
it could be a different number, they
Oh,
renumbered them
okay.
since the whole
Is
thing.
that the
so-
one, the finance committee terms?
Article 11 is
Oh,
CPC.
We have to do that, don't we? Yeah. We'll get to that.
Okay.
That's 14, yeah. Article 11,
That's CPC,
CPC,
which one?
um,
We have a bunch of them.
let's see,
So,
reserve future
we're
appropriate.
doing the annual right now, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
That's just housekeeping, Article 11 is just housekeeping.
That's returning
that's,
funds?
no, that's transferring funds within CPC to other funds that they have, to fund those funds.
They have got minimums, so
Yeah,
that's what they are.
estimated
Those
annual
are the-
revenues following the amounts: 45 for administrative expenses, 90,000 for open space reserves, and 90,000 for historical preservation reserves, 90,000 to affordable housing reserves. These are all accounts within CPC.
Same every year.
And so they take this lump sum from our taxes from when people purchase homes, and now they have to distribute it internally to themselves.
I move to approve it.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Article 12 is the Wareham Wellesley United Methodist Church. I would advise,
It's been
an
withdrawn, I
abstain.
believe.
It is going to be withdrawn, yes. An abstention vote, because there is a court case in the Supreme Judicial Court, in which
Well,
in
why
Religion,
extension as
freedom of
opposed
religion.
to, why don't we
Act-
recommend tabling the
Why
article?
don't we table it?
Okay, motion to recommend table.
Yep.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
What sort of explanation do we wanna put down for that?
Make
State
reference to the
religion,
court
Just
case.
something to do
No,
with the
make
court
reference
case.
to the court case. I'll give you the wording on it.
I
if
think you
like.
say town council has recommended that we wait
Right.
for the outcome of certain court cases, that's all.
Okay, number 13, the CPC restoration of Onset Pier. Why don't we hold off on that, and I'll ask Gary to come in next Wednesday. To amend the, number 14 is to amend the bylaw, which is finance committee terms. The only change in that is the charter. It says the appointing committee has to meet within 30 days, and I had in there 60 days, so we'll just change that to 30. How does everyone feel about that?
Bernie, is it- oh, I'm sorry, can I ask a question? No member shall serve more than 9 years, that's new.
Yes,
You agree on that?
yes, that's what I've encountered with other.
Yeah, but
I mean,
let
we
me
can-
ask a big question of
Go
that,
ahead.
because I have a serious problem with that, because that involves me, right to the head. Now, we have an appointing committee. So why do you need a limit when the committee can say no after so many years? Might be 6 years. I mean, and the person on the committee, if you don't want me there, you tell me, or someone else doesn't want you there, tell me. But the appointing committee is there, you're an appointed position. An appointed position doesn't need a length of time.
But every other committee has an appointed committee.
An
I mean, for the same
appointing
issue,
committee is
same
great,
issue.
but why have 9 years when you have an appointing committee?
Others do it, that I plugged it in, I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, I'd like
That's
to,
my
I'd like to
experience
take that
in my
amount of
last-
time. I mean, because, and the reason I'm gonna say it is, I've been doing this a long time.
Mhm.
And of course, I've had my year off, I've been doing it a long time. And I've learned more each year. I think I'm a better person for the length of time I've been on it. And I just think say I'm doing a lousy job. The appointing committee would know that. If I put in to be done again, they won't appoint you. So I don't think a term length means anything.
Well,
Just an opinion.
I'd like to comment on that also.
Yes, go
Because
ahead.
if we have someone, we have a lot of gray hairs up here.
Yeah.
But if someone comes in at the age of 30 and in town, and we've got some very smart people in town,
Yep.
and I'd like to get them on these various committees. I'd like to get them involved. And, if they work for a few years and on the committee and then drop off, perhaps they want to come back on again later on. And they should have that opportunity. I agree with you.
I would like to
I think
take the
that the-
9 years off, because I think the appointing committee has the power to stop anyone's length of term
And
after they've served.
Right, and the appointing committee is made up of qualified individuals within the town who are
Chairman of the
chosen.
finance committee, he can vote no if he thinks the person's doing a lousy job.
Right, but also the selectmen,
Yep.
the town,
Moderator, I mean,
Moderator.
it's a closed group,
It's a-
and if someone's saying, geez, he bucks the system, he's no good, he's got crazy ideas, then vote him
The
off.
biggest problem we have is just getting qualified people to serve.
right.
But you don't think you've learned each year more than,
Yeah, but I mean, I remember when I went in front of that committee, I mean, before I could even open my mouth, I said, thank you very much, we'd love to have you on the committee.
well, they don't
But
say
you're a
that
good
about, they don't
person.
say that about me all the time, there's some people who don't like me,
Yeah.
so,
Well, I'm sensing something here, and I would suggest then, under the circumstances, that instead of having the committee go up and have a split vote or anything, I would suggest we would vote to withdraw it.
why not amend it?
I would vote to withdraw.
I agree, I move to withdraw.
Motion
Why don't we,
made.
well, let's discuss why,
Okay,
Yeah, what are the other change, how important are the other changes, Bernie? Maybe that's what we should look at.
it's just a 9-year term, that was really the principle of the whole issue, is the
Okay,
term.
now I'm against it totally.
right
should
now
have a
it's,
longer
right now it's
discussion.
2 3-year terms. Is that correct?
Then a year off, and
And
then
a year
As
off.
long as you take a year off, you can come,
And then you can come back again.
I can come back, yeah. Now, when I started, everyone walked off, so we had, they were looking for people to come in for 2 years, and then I could do 3 years after that, which I did, 5 years. Then I came on again, did another 3 years. So I had 7 years in already, then I took a year off. I've done another 3, and so, I'm already beyond 9 years.
Right.
I happen to agree with Bernie, and I was thinking like, after 9 years, goodbye, get some new people in.
And new
It's
people,
legacy,
but
you
there's
know?
9 people on the group. New people are good, but you need people who
I'm
also
just-
have experience. Oh, no, I
I'm not
understand.
arguing, I'm just
No.
telling you why
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
And your reason for the terms are,
The
you
reason
think
for
new
9
people?
years is new thoughts.
But
I
can't,
got a flip phone, other people got an
I got a flip-
iPhone,
I
you
got
know,
a
it's
flip
time,
phone.
maybe it's time for new thoughts, after 9 years.
It's a long
That's-
time.
that's okay, you're welcome to your opinion.
That's my,
Yeah,
thank you,
yeah,
that's
sure.
my
I agree,
opinion.
but, you know, I can accept I accept everyone's opinion, I'm not.
Claire mentioned that there's only really been one person.
I know, me.
Whoever
That's,
came
I
back
was, Bernie, I really
after-
thought one of
After
the.
your year off.
I know, listen, if you guys don't like me, tell me, I'll get off.
Exactly
I'm that kind
why.
of person.
Don't make a motion.
You know, whatever, you don't want me there, I'll leave, I don't have any problem with it. I thought this
Pat's been on
was,
several times too.
what's that?
Pat's been on several times.
She may have forgotten about one, but.
Well, she might.
Glenn, what's your opinion?
I think there's validity in both opinions, but if you have a dearth of people even applying for it, I think it's a moot argument. I mean, we've been having troubles getting the quorum as it is. I think the restructuring needs to be in terms of how the participation is. And I understand there's always extenuating circumstances, but when we're pushed up against the deadline because you can't, and I'm just as guilty as anybody, I've been in and out, probably more than anybody, but I think that's the bigger problem.
I mean, the size of the committee to make a quorum?
No, not the
No,
size.
not the
Well,
size.
I think Bernie makes one point. We don't want to bring something to town meeting that we're not unanimous about.
Right.
I mean, that wouldn't make any sense. So it sounds like we have some difference of opinion we need to work out. Let's just withdraw it and work it out at some other meeting, once we pass the town meeting, and then do it the next time.
I accept your motion to withdraw.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's withdrawn.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir. Article 15, to discontinue portion of Cedar Island Road.
Didn't we have questions on that?
They had addressed, and they went before the selectmen, and they discussed it also in the same issue. They saw no problem in context of the adjoining property. That is to say, that little piece would have led into an adjacent piece of property, and that wasn't being developed. Excuse me, I beg your pardon.
I have no problem with this. I think they're being somewhat naive to think that simply by doing this, they're somehow going to have one big lot. I don't think it happens that way.
No, they mentioned that, the selectmen mentioned that.
Oh, okay.
And Peter, being a lawyer,
As
Right,
long as
right up
they,
to.
as long as they don't,
it's still gonna be two separate lots.
but who cares? I mean,
Yeah.
it hasn't been used in ages.
Motion to approve,
Yes.
so moved. Second. Motion's made and second. All those in favor say aye. Opposed?
I'm
Abstained?
gonna abstain, as I wasn't here during the discussion.
So everyone signed off on this that
I came
needs
in
to
too late
sign
for
off on it?
Yes.
Whatever.
Hmm?
I don't think they can bring it forward if they haven't.
When they were here, they didn't really seem to know. It seemed like this was one of their first stops.
They were looking for advice.
Yeah, which is,
Has the planning board and planning department signed off on this?
that's my question.
Yeah.
Then maybe we should.
I think you directed them to go talk to
Yes,
someone
we sent them down there, or advised them to go down
We
there.
advised them.
I think I'd like to hear what the planning department said before.
Maybe then we shouldn't until we find out if they've done everything correct.
Okay.
You know, zoning, planning.
Motion to withdraw or vote?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll take away my second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and Ken will be here next week, although I'll try to talk with him in the interim, just so we have the information. Article 16, South Shore Community Action Council looking for $5,000. I've spoken to them, I have some material that were put in the book. They do help a number of people here in town, but they also operate on about $6 to $7 million from donations from a myriad of private companies and institutions. The only other community of the 32 they serve is Dennis, and they've given $1,000. But no other community has
Is
contributed any
contributing.
money toward this. And the services have not diminished at all.
Question, Bernie, has anyone talked to Derek? Where would that money come from if approved? So I
think we
mean,
know
there's
that.
no money there now for the schools. I'm gonna say no.
Right.
There's no money, there's no money.
Right.
Move to not approve this. So
Not approved.
I make a motion to not approve Article 16.
Who put this on?
The petitioner,
Petitioner. Yes, Kelly?
So you're saying not recommend
yeah,
the article?
yep.
That's the word.
Well, I make a motion not to recommend.
Right.
Second.
Somebody get seconded.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor of not recommending?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed, that seems a contradiction.
I'll
The
send an
petition for
explanation around
agriculture,
for
they
this
haven't
one.
appeared before us. And I've scheduled for next Wednesday as a courtesy. They were scheduled another time when we saw CPC. And they didn't show, and I haven't had a return call. I left another voicemail with the principal petitioner. Again, no response. And I think, so Wednesday is their last opportunity.
The aquaculture people?
Yes.
So if they don't show up, if they don't show up
Yeah,
with
I
an
have a
explanation
couple
Wednesday, we'll
thoughts,
vote it down.
And I think Gary has thoughts on this too.
Indeed, I was hoping when he was present, when the CPC came up, that he would weigh in on this. Excuse me. Article 18 is the funding of the Council on Aging Director.
I move we not approve this.
Second.
Motion's made and second not to approve.
Not to
All those in
recommend.
favor, all those in favor of not approving, say aye. And comments are, Alice, in spirit, we
No
do
No money.
No money.
I would think that we
agree with
should
them.
have to,
Unfortunately, we have no monies to,
yeah, I would say that if funds were available, it would be a no-brainer. You know, something, have a positive comment, it's just a
Well,
financial thing.
I wrote something up and got feedback from a couple people, so I
Yeah,
think when I
thought it
put
was-
those
it was
two,
good, especially you had a
those two,
comment.
three things together,
Yeah,
it'll, we don't wanna I think most of us feel there should be a
yeah,
council on
absolutely,
aging director.
I do, but there's no money.
So we don't wanna, just,
Just say no, yeah, right, don't give them the right
I
hook.
mean, we're,
All right.
okay, we'll move on to
cause
the.
they can come in
Are
and
we
vote
gonna-
this in if
voting
they
on
want
that?
to.
Absolutely.
They have no
18.
problems with that.
Which one is that?
Yeah,
18,
just
yes, we have.
Okay,
Not
go
to
ahead.
recommend.
A lot of mumbling's been going on, so I presumed it was approval mumbling.
Yeah.
Okay, on a special town meeting, we will see Derek next Wednesday for the budget transfers. He has, his free cash and is going to snow budget, of course. Oh my gosh, I can't bring up the others, I think there's two others.
No, those are his.
But Article 2 is CPC, and that's returning unused funds from a completed project.
Parking project?
No,
No, the,
CPC, unused funds from completed projects. This is an
Oh,
an
number
accounting.
5, he said number 2, that's all.
Yep.
I'm sorry,
It's number
it's
5.
actually number 5. Yes, I apologize, I was asking the old
Right.
numbers.
Yep, number 5. I make a motion, we approve
Sec-
this.
Seconded.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Right?
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote.
Is this the one where, once they asked for the money back, they started spending it?
No, not that
No,
one. That
no.
is, there's another one down
That's
there
number
that is.
6, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's number 6?
Return on used funds
That's a
from a project never
digitizing,
implemented, yeah.
whatever it is.
I see.
The, number 5 was from a completed project, and was just leftovers.
Oh, this was from the,
There was the number of
Wareham
projects.
Land Trust and,
Right, they had received
yeah, I know,
funding elsewhere and
yeah,
didn't have to use it all.
those
Mhm.
guys are awesome that way, or they appear to be.
Yeah,
this
we've
time.
got another article regarding them, Stony Run. Number 6, returning unused funds from a project never implemented.
Move to approve.
Have a second, please?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
This was digitizing
Article 7, the Stony Run Main Street Preserve. This is the west.
I'm sorry? The what? I was just gonna move to approve.
Oh, okay, move to approve. These people have received CPC funds before for a purchase, and it's monies they have, the CPC gives them, they use it, it's upfront, so they can purchase the property. In the past, this group has reimbursed CPC 100%.
It's the Wareham Land Trust.
Yes,
Yeah, I second.
Like she said, they're getting 89 returned, and they're only spending 91, so it's only like a couple $1,000 difference, she said.
yeah, they're netting out.
Right.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Article 8, CPC, restoration of Tremont Nail Freight Building. I think I copied everyone on a letter that Peter had written to me, and that the Tremont Nail Building is actually being booked now for activities. With this monies, they're receiving $200,000 from CPC. They're receiving another $200,000 for a grant, and they hope to put legitimate bathrooms in the building and do some upgrading so it doesn't look like it's gonna fall over anymore.
It's a money pit.
And, well, it was up until this past year. Now they have bookings for catered functions.
Yeah, they have a vision plan.
Bernie, everybody here on the board will be dead in the ground before that thing sees $1 profit. Sorry to say, guys.
Now, we'll have to remember that when his appointment comes up for renewal.
I don't care what you say, that's how I feel about Tremont, that's how I feel about Tremont Nail, guys.
But
It's a
Tremont,
money pit.
Tremont Nail has been my money pit.
It is.
There is a vision, there is a program going forward to use it.
I can have a vision, you give me 10 million, I don't have a vision, I have no problem.
Well, that was,
What do you want me to
It'd be him
accomplish?
on a
What do
beach.
you want me to accomplish?
Well, that's what stimulated Peter's letter to me, because I had commented that it seemed like a money pit up till now.
It is.
And we keep doing that.
It
And
is, I'm sorry.
I look at the
can't
context that if there's a possibility it could be turned around, and they're working on it, they seem to have an opportunity here.
God bless them.
Okay.
Am I meant to reclaim flooring?
We
Well,
can't-
Alice,
I
I'm
move
with you.
to
I'll
approve
check.
this.
Motion to approve, motion.
Who's gonna run this thing? What, is this gonna be run by the town? Is the CPC gonna run it? Are we gonna hire a
No.
person to
Well, I
do
assure
a
you,
few
the
events a
CPC
year?
will not be running
No,
this.
they will
No,
not.
CPC doesn't run things.
I guess I'd like to understand it, cause I don't understand.
It's
You're
their
running a
vision plan.
business,
It's-
why, are
it-
they competing with other local businesses that do this sort of thing?
It's their 80-page vision.
This thing is
plan.
in the flood zone. You're gonna spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get it, the interior all flooded out
You could put
next
40
year?
40B in there.
in this center?
But they have talked of the elderly housing. There is a plot up there that they can build something like that,
Yeah.
something of that
Has
nature.
anyone ever added the money that's been put into the
Well,
building?
let's just vote.
Well, that's sunk cost.
All right, all right,
That's-
all right.
I've had this
Okay.
discussion with my boss
My
a couple
personal
times.
view is, we see this probably a window of opportunity. I think we could try and step through it.
I-
And maybe next year we'll get the cranky people.
I'd just like someone to explain it to me, so.
Well, we had a meeting. Where were you?
What meeting? I was here when CPC explained it.
You didn't ask questions.
I think I did, I don't think I got the right answers. But
Okay, motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No, I'm opposed.
You opposed?
Yeah, I gotta go opposed there.
Three?
I probably could vote
So is it
for it if I
4-3?
understood it, but I
Mhm.
don't understand it, so I
4-3?
can't vote
Yes.
for it.
I would like more clarity on,
As a matter of fact, well, the vote will stand as it is. I'll try and get
because you
Sandy
can
back
have
to
a window of
give us-
opportunity. How long
No,
have you
no.
had a window of opportunity here, and how long will this window of opportunity
It's been a window of
continue?
opportunity since 1843 when it was built.
Actually, it's
Oh,
not,
you're really cranky.
it's really not Sandy. It's not Sandy who should describe that. It's probably someone like Ken.
Whoever's gonna run it, who's,
Okay,
Yep.
I mean, you have to
Ken
go and
Buckland should
stay
probably
at
be
the
one of
events, this isn't a 2-hour-a-week job.
Right.
and he's coming up next week, so I think, okay, keep it in mind, don't forget, and we'll reconsider it.
Well, if we don't, the vote will stay as it is, and I'll just write my side of it, and
Yep.
You come up for a
Send them a
Water
fake
runs
copy
right
for
through
approval.
them. Have you been in there?
All right. So
Water
it's
runs
Okay.
right through, it's a trough.
I know.
Article 11,
I've seen it.
cemetery rules and
The
regulations.
map, they
What's
said
what
it has a
happened at
flood
night?
zone on it.
I move to
It goes
approve
out,
the
they
cemetery
require
rules.
Jackie's coming up.
I'll second that.
What are we doing?
Which one?
Cemetery rules and
Cemetery,
regs.
11.
11, cemetery rules and regulations.
This is like have no
Jackie's
financial
coming next
impact on the
weekend
town.
for the
Right,
solar
yeah.
pilots. May I have a motion to approve, please?
Yes.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Everybody gets a discount on their flock. Now, the rest are zoning, bylaws, and Ken's gonna address all of those next week. The PEG access to receipts, I talked to Steve on that, Steve Ruiz, and that's, again, Ken submitted that. And that's transferring the monies that the town receives from Comcast and FiOS to transfer to the community TV account so they can spend it and go forward with the renovations of their building.
Isn't that
And
just
Jonathan can
housekeeping?
have a major raise increase.
Shopping cart file is gonna be pretty
Yeah.
controversial.
50%. I think he's a volunteer now. Which article is this?
19.
Special 19?
That's PEG access, yes.
Okay. Isn't it always spent on this?
Yeah, but this is what happens. What do you
Okay,
mean?
so this is a housekeeping article?
Yes.
Just from my own writing.
Now, the other articles that came up
See what-
Tuesday night that we didn't know about was fund for the parking, transferring monies, spring capital outlays, transfer of free cash, an amendment, again, for bylaws, Article 3, Article 16. The stretch energy code is also Ken's, shopping carts are the selectmen's, and to amend the community events, I believe that's the membership. There seems to be a conflict between what the law says and what our bylaw or our charter says, and they're trying to just straighten that out.
It's not gonna have any effect on the money,
For whom?
community events?
I don't know. This was submitted by the selectmen,
Okay.
not at a request of Derek.
We don't have these in Word yet, they're not in here.
All right, we should,
No.
That one I would like to hear what's,
I don't
'cause
think
they get a
Kelly's
lot of
got
money
anything.
now with the hotel tax and stuff.
No, it's really nothing to do with
No-
that.
no- not
It's
financially?
just membership. It's in the actual, community events bylaw, it says a member of CETA has to be on there, but
Oh.
CETA is
No longer, yeah.
Right,
Okay, so they,
so they wanna add a member at large.
oh,
That's-
okay, so
that's-
it's got nothing to do with
that's all that
financial
deals
then,
with.
okay. Okay, I can vote on that then, okay.
Yeah, I move to approve.
That's one point in your favor?
Well, community event gets a lot of money, I didn't know if it had a money, option on it, that's all. If it doesn't, I don't care.
no,
Move to approve.
Second,
That's Article 20 you're doing already? We haven't heard it yet. You're
We
just moving
heard
right
it.
along, huh?
We just
Oh,
heard it.
okay, we got a extra there, okay.
yes.
We have a motion to approve? We have a motion, excuse me.
And a second.
yeah, and a second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That was good.
Go Kelly.
Okay. She knows where all the skeletons are buried. I don't know.
She been here longer than me.
20-some odd years you've been doing this, Kelly?
She's been working in the cemetery a long time.
22.
You're gonna say she's been here longer than me.
Do we have any questions or comments or anything you'd like to bring up?
Yeah, I think once this town meeting is over, I would suggest that we discuss what we want to do about a 2.5. Probably get some smaller number of this group to talk to the school committee and get moving on it.
Yeah, even, like you said, sit down and talk about it, even, get public, interest, put in the newspaper, let's, if you're gonna do it, let's do it right.
Yes.
That's the way I say it, we don't,
No, it should
if the
be.
board is set on doing it, let's go.
I'm very heartened to hear all your opinions on this, in the way we're going. We're going a good direction, I think. We're going forward. There's so much pessimism amongst the selectmen and the school committee that, oh, geez, it's never gonna pass. Oh, it's gonna fail. Oh, it's gonna be so hard. Oh, they didn't do it.
Even if we think it's gonna be, like you said, you gotta try.
There's no
Yeah.
harm in
My
trying.
opinion is it won't pass either, but I'm willing to try. I don't have a problem with trying, Bert.
But I look more at the one that we lost as a learning experience. I mean, I've talked to some people and they went in to analyze the vote patterns. As I made the reference, they find the principal areas of the community where children live had a very low turnout.
Exactly.
Which meant the parents didn't turn out. And there's a lot of talk, that the school committee wasn't on board with it per se, they weren't
Yeah.
aggressive and all. But I think you gotta get everybody together and you more or less pull everybody else in.
Somebody should be down there asking
Well,
the new
there's
school
several
committee
aspects of
about
doing
it.
this right, but I think we have a role to play because somebody has to explain the finances of this town succinctly to the electorate, because you can't keep saying no to this stuff. If we don't get more revenue, it's like any other business, we're going out of business.
When we were at the COA and we talked with them, I mean, we didn't hear any negative, other than the pessimism from the trust issues.
Right.
But Peter, the chairman, I can't remember who, I think it was Alan, he talked with Alan, he said the best part of our talk with them was that we never said they, we always said we. We were always a part of it. And that's why when I was thinking of my opening remarks at town meeting, I'm gonna tell them that you can't say the selectmen did this or school committee did this. It's we did it. If they failed because they said they only guaranteed a COA director for the first year, because that's the way the vote was written, the proposal, and the second year, if there wasn't a director, it was because we accepted there wouldn't be. Because town meeting makes the vote as to where all the money goes. And if they wanna come back on next night or a third night, fine, but they gotta put the time in to say, okay, there is a director. There will always be a director. You find the money. Selectmen, and they respond to that because that's where all the tax dollars, because now they're in, when we're at town meeting, they're in our office. They work for us. We don't work for them. So even though they're elected officials and the like, they're still employees from my point of view, of the taxpayer, of the voter,
Absolutely.
and that's us.
The thing was, one of the things was Prop 2.5 that seemed to work to get other towns passed. You have to get the larger landowners and the people who own, of a lot of things, that's gonna affect them more than just one single-family homed person. So if you get the people who, it's gonna be a greatest expense to get on board, the lesser people should follow.
Yeah, well, this is gonna be,
Well, no, I didn't mean it, maybe lesser was the wrong word. But you have a person who owns a single-family home, Prop 2.5 is gonna affect them a certain amount.
Last time,
But you get,
a
look
lot
at
of the
ADA
people,
Makepeace, and you get people, and you get people who own
La-
multiple buildings in
last
the town,
time-
and that affects them more, they pay more.
a lot of people who would have benefited the most,
Didn't vote.
people who are in low-income type housing, who
Yes.
have children in the schools, would get the greatest benefit.
They don't only rent, they
Didn't
don't even
vote.
pay taxes.
Well, they pay
Still,
taxes
it's indirect.
indirectly.
Okay.
The landlord doesn't pay them out of the kindness of, I know you did when you owned.
Oh, yeah.
When you rent, you pay all the taxes.
Oh,
You
I know,
never
I
pass
pay
that.
everything, you know that.
it's gonna be an uphill battle. And it's
But it's
unavoidable.
the people who benefited the most that didn't come out to vote.
I agree with you,
And the
Alice.
people who, many of them would have paid the least.
Yeah, you're right.
So, it is a matter of finding the way to find those people and ask them how they feel about it. Do you want your kids' class sizes or grandkids' class sizes to be lower?
And you would think they would vote for it because it affects them the less. I mean, it affects them in a positive way the more, and in the negative way the less.
They get the most benefit
Right.
for the least cost.
Exactly.
Yeah, as I
But
said,
they didn't vote last time.
Right.
as I said, the way the vote went, is a learning experience.
Okay.
We get the whole analysis out, find out what the patterns were, and we begin trying to attack this with why. We have to identify what the shortcomings were, the positive ones. Now, we've got a lot on our plate, as we know. The water rates went up, sewer rates are going up, fire rates are going up. We need, we need a new school, but I'd like to get the 2.5 in before we get the school has to hit the ballot.
2.5 is a good thing. This has always been a pet peeve of me. The water districts, is there a big, I know it's like, everyone keeps saying it's an impossible task to get money from the water districts to the town.
I just think it's probably they've outlived their usefulness.
I don't know. To me, it's just an awful lot, some money that, it's a well that someone can get a bucket into, would be great. How to do it, I don't know.
Look at Barnstable, I believe they have 5
Yeah.
districts, absolutely impossible to manage.
Have you ever read the district laws and how they were initiated? I know it's like watching paint dry, but I've read it a couple times, and
I know.
it was smart people.
Yeah.
Oh, indeed, they were.
Yeah.
They were the businessmen, which is the reason why they wanted to protect their investments. The onset, they had a forest, and they didn't want to expand it. They were very parochial, and the second one was formed, because the town couldn't afford to do it themselves. It happens in small towns like that, but
I understand that, but it's just such a small group of people. You can flood those votes like, oh, I watched it for years.
you're in charge.
Okay.
I just think they could be more efficient, everyone else has been
Very
asked to
good
give
idea.
back.
Get that, get some housekeeping done here.
Yep, and it's a 20% surcharge on mine, so it's 18%
Could I have
of my
a,
taxes, it's outrageous.
Motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of March 15th.
So moved.
Second?
So moved, made and seconded.
I wasn't here.
No, you're missing it. No, you were here.
Was I here on the 15th? You sure? Okay.
I wanted to talk to you about my problem, but I don't think you remember it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote. Can I entertain a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Yes.
Opposed? It's a vote. Next Wednesday, March 28th.
It's gonna be busy.
Wednesday and Thursday, you said, correct?
I have Thursday reserved,
Okay. So Thursday's on a definite.
because that way it's posted,
Oh,
and if it doesn't happen, we don't need it.
well, no, we
that way
won't know
the-
till Wednesday then, correct?
If we have to